On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. We do have breaking news. You might have heard already. If not, we've got some breaking news about Adam Schiff. Some crazy stuff coming out about him. We will get to that. Kash Patel dropping the bomb big time on this dude. And we've got stuff happening with Texas. Got stuff happening with Trump and Putin. And a couple things I want to I'm calling it radar, but just things that I'm finding interesting. Stuff that's being shown to us, right, wrong, and different. I'm going to get into some weird stuff here, and then, how we all feel about it's going to be different, honestly, from person to person. You guys can fight it out in the comments if you want. First off, Tropical Storm Aaron could become the Atlantic season's first hurricane later this week. All I'm going to say is just be one to pay attention to. This is the first one. They'd love to make it a giant one. Weather's been very strange lately, so I would pay attention to it and see if there's extensive warming happening in the direction. If this thing seems to be steered, I'd just pay attention. This one should be interesting. Again, just something to keep on the radar. Another interesting story that's running around right now. Again, where you feel about it, where you don't feel about it, it's totally up to you. But this Comet 3-1 Atlas, or what do they call it? 3-1 Atlas. I think it's actually called Comet. Now, a lot of people are calling this something special, something that's visiting maybe as extraterrestrial. It's certainly something that's from outside of this solar system. So yes, at least so they're telling us. Now, again, what's funny is a lot of people, if you point out the picture from Hubble of it does show the faint signs of a tail. This should grow day in and day out as it gets closer and closer to the sun. It's never going to get super, super close, but it will be close enough to cause the tail to get larger, assuming it is a comet. But there's the images definitely show comet-like behavior. Now, a lot of people will instantly say, well, this is NASA. You can't trust NASA, Dan. And then I would say, okay, but then every other piece of information that comes about this, every piece of information about this particular object, two places I'm seeing it come from, either NASA or space agencies, or channel people's information, which is as accurate as it will be sometimes. I don't have a lot of faith in it. So all I'm saying is, it looks like a comet. It's sort of behaving like a comet. People are trying to say it's not. And then again, if they don't want to trust NASA, which is fine, I get that, then where are you getting your information from? The velocity and all these different things that people are calculating, the actual distance that it's going to be from the sun. Just a lot of interesting pieces of information that people are putting together to prove that it's something other than it might be. Personally, I don't think it's more than a comet. Comets are very harbingers of change. So it being a comet to me is super significant and super cool. And in fact, makes it even better than what I think they're talking about. But I do see this as some of the conditioning for the Project Blue Beam, where they're going to try to fake an attack, put stuff in the sky and freak us out. Very possible. Or some are even trying to suggest that this is part of disclosure. I don't know. I mean, it is to a degree. Disclosure is all about, honestly, and this is the thing that's hard for a lot of people. If you believe in UFOs or you don't believe in UFOs, right? Wherever you are in that whole scheme, disclosure represents enough of the consciousness of this planet kind of believing in it. And when that happens, it will present itself and it will be acceptable by those that aren't ready for this. UFOs are something that break a lot of people's spectrums. It would break their reality. So something to keep in mind when we say, well, I don't care, we got to just get the information out. Totally get you, but you've got religions and you've got some people that just don't, their reality doesn't allow for this. It's like believing in ghosts. There's a lot of people that just, their realities don't allow for that. Their beliefs, their religion, something. Some people, we've had experiences. So we feel differently, right? So it's something to pay attention to. I don't know. Think of what you would like. I don't know if I had anything else in here. Oh, there's just, factoids. They're comparing it to Oumuamua, which, again, is another thing they said was extrasolar, and certainly something they also claimed was intelligently being, controlled. It did things that they couldn't, that didn't make sense. And then, again, a lot of people It's like, where'd you get that information from? You know, like, you don't trust NASA, but yet it's these people that are giving you this information, right? And so, again, there's even a different picture of this comet. We'll see what happens. Kilauea volcano erupts over 1,000 feet in the air. Kind of crazy. And I'm bringing all this stuff up because I've talked about the magnetic field of the Earth. So our weather's getting weird. Temperatures are strange. We're definitely seeing earthquakes and volcanism. Now, again, the sun, I think, plays a large role, and it's been active, but for the most part, we had a small CME hit us. We had a big coronal hole thing that was kind of interesting. Those generally bring earthquakes, so I think some of this volcanism is part of that. But I don't know. We seem to be going through something interesting. Here's a little bit of a thing they did on Entity News, not with any of the girls I wanted, but whatever. I don't get to choose who does the news.
Fashion yesterday with lava fountains exceeding 1,000 feet, according to the U.S. Geological Survey.
Imagine that, 1,000 feet spewing into there. Look at that. That is crazy. Now, the USGS said the latest episode began a little after 4 a.m. local time.
The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory said activity began in the north vent, escalating to high fountains about an hour later.
And the south vent followed with smaller fountains about 30 minutes later.
Now, Kilauea began its current eruption on December 23rd, 2024, quite some time ago.
I know. It's been erupting for over a year, although not this dramatically. I think it kind of like ebbs and flows, and literally, and in this case, I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
That pressure built up. And
So again, a lot of lava. They're making it sound, I don't know, it's a little strange. All the active volcanoes currently in the world right now, there's quite a few, and I think there always is quite a few. So I don't know if this is abnormal or not, but again, there's a lot going on constantly, volcanically on the planet. By the way, when you talk about greenhouse gases, huge amount always coming out. CO2, huge amounts come out of volcanoes. Do some research. Sulfur, even worse, huge amounts come out of these volcanoes. So this is something that we all need to make sure we're keeping tabs on. Now, Beto O'Rourke, he's getting himself in a little trouble. It looks like Attorney General Paxton seeking to jail him. And Beto O'Rourke is kind of flaunting it a little bit. This is a quote from Beto. Paxton, tried to stop us from holding this rally here today in Fort Worth. He tried to stop us from raising money to support these Democrats in the fight. He lost. And one of the worst things that we could do to Ken Paxton is right now is choose to donate, to have the backs of these fighters. He then continues, Paxton, is trying to stop us from raising the resources the Democrat State House fugitives, need to ultimately prevail and come through, and we are not going to let them stop us, O'Rourke continued. Are you with me on that? So he's still fundraising, even though the federal judge, or the judge, said no. Supreme Court judge, I want to say it was, in Texas. So Paxton's going to go after him and quite possibly put this dude in jail. We're going to see how that plays out. That should be fun. Texas Supreme Court sets expedited brief schedule for governor's suit to deal with this runaway House Democrat situation. Now, what's interesting about this is the timing of it. So under the expedited schedule, the governor must file his brief by August 20th. The respondents must file their responses brief by August 29th. They get 9 days. And the governor has until September 4th if he wants to reply to their thing. So we're looking at September 4th until they're going to be able to resolve this, which there hasn't been a stay yet on the possibility of arresting any of these people. Certainly the fines are being levied, and anybody that gives money towards them, they'll put them in jail and let them work that out through the courts as well. We're heading into some interesting time. Now, Democrats in Texas stopped, again, government from happening. There's votes that need to occur, and I believe this gentleman, I haven't actually listened to this, but I believe he's speaking about the legislative stuff that was actually supposed to happen on top of the redistricting. On top of that. Again, I've said multiple times, I believe there was 18 things on the first thing I read. I don't know if it was just crap numbers or what, but I believe there was 18 things total, and when you remove the one, there's 17 others. Quinkydink, probably.
for roll call to determine if a quorum will be met. Dozens of Democrats still missing in action in an effort to redraw congressional maps will remain on hold as long as they don't return and they do not have a quorum. So we'll be watching for this to begin here. Welcome back to a second hour of America Reports. I'm Sandra Smith in New York, and here we go, John.
No, that was a very aggressive swing of the gavel there, and apparently there's no quorum. So that means that the state business will not proceed. They won't get into the redistricting, and nor will they get into all of the other pressing business that the governor was.
Well, I thought they were going to be more helpful there than just, unhelpful, frankly. Gavin Newsom, again, still threatening his tit for tat in redistricting. What's funny about this, and I think this is gorgeous. First off, they're like, yeah, you're going to do wrong, so I'm going to do wrong just to show you how wrong your wrong is, I'm going to wronger it. I'm going to wrong it so much wronger than you did. Yeah, and then I'll show you who's the wrongest. But the problem is Texas Abbott is like, look, you want to play this game? I can eliminate 10 Democratic districts right now in response to California. Is that the game you want to play? Literally, we can redraw districts. All I'm doing is adding 5 more for Republicans. But we can redraw them if you'd like. Now, again, this is going to bring into question Austin, which is very funny because Austin's supposed to be deep blue. Because that's where they're trying to, that's how the infection spreads. They try to get to the heart of the state. And once they've got the capital, it's tough. It's tough at that point. You're fighting a fight. That's not happening, is it? No. So Abbott's like, look, I could do 10 Democratic districts. Wipe them right there. Eliminate them. Let's see. Play the game. He's like, all right, roll the dice. Let's see what happens. I ain't scared. I want to remind you guys one thing you shouldn't be scared of for sure, because there's an easy way to protect yourself. But the financial craziness that's in front of us. Again, I've talked to a bunch of stock people. Stock people are talking about putting parking cash in places where you can get the highest amount of interest or low risk gain rather than just keeping it in a stupid bank. All right. So that's what they're doing because they're trying to keep liquid around for when this moment happens. Everyone's expecting the moment to happen. Nobody can say it really publicly. Well, people like me can, of course. But nobody's really saying it. They can't. It kind of hurts business when you're trying to sell stocks, right? So this is an interesting conundrum. And the reason is because there's going to be a bump in the night. This bump in the night is going to cause, anybody that's connected, 401k, IRA, specifically who I'm talking to. If there's a 401k or an IRA and you've got a bunch of money sitting against that, and that's great and that's wonderful, and it's getting matched and you can keep it going, but you can diversify it into precious metals. Precious metals just hold value. 1 ounce of gold, they say, I've heard this analogy done, it's better than my stupid loaves of bread one, right? So 1 ounce of gold. Back in the day, early 1900s, okay? 1 ounce of gold, this is before Fed, by the way. 1 ounce of gold, I could get a fully tailored suit, just luxurious suit. I'd hand them 1 ounce of gold. That would get me a tailored suit. Today, 1 ounce of gold will buy you a very nice, fully tailored suit. Handmade and everything. 1 ounce of gold. It holds value. Now, do you need a tailored suit? No. Do you need something to hold the value because we're about to go through a bump in the night? Probably. Yeah. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Look at diversifying that 401k that's attached to dollars, which are very crazy right now, and there's inflation built into them. It's 2.7%. There's always 2%. That's what they call zero inflation. When Trump says zero inflation, he's referring to 2%. Less than 2% would actually be deflation. If the Treasury printed it, it would be 0% because we would own the money. We wouldn't owe debt on every dollar we make. Literally, the Fed creates a dollar by issuing a dollar to the Treasury. Well, it's $1 it's a bill. Essentially, a bill. Like you owe $1 to the public, to this thing, to this corporation. It's going to cost you $1.02 to me, the Fed, the maker of the money. So you've got to pay 2 cents. It's inflation. The value of the dollar is constantly going down. Now, is that going to get hammered? I don't know. We'll see. Compared to all the stuff that's going on in the rest of the world and the way currencies are exchanged and compared and what we understand about the Federal Reserve kind of needing to come down and precious metals likely being the way that's going to go, Here's the thing. There's an awesome way to get out of it. They're the best customer service I've seen. It's how you can protect your wealth. They're going to give it up to 10% free silver, which is way undervalued. Silver is super important, super good. You definitely want to take advantage of that. Up to 10% free silver. Just depends on how much money you're diversifying. And you can also do it tax-free and penalty-free. And that's the key. And it's physical metal. It's put into a trust. It's legitimate. All the way across the board. They will answer all your questions the best that you could possibly need. They are the best customer service. And it's definitely, precious metals is something that I am very much a believer in. Certainly put my money where my mouth is. And I highly recommend you do the same. My friends at Goldco, I think they're amazing. I highly recommend them as well. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Try to help yourself, protect yourself from what's coming. And then once you got the precious metals, it's very easy to turn this into the new currency they're talking about. And they're talking about it already. Now, I'm not saying Trump and them publicly, but some of the people in our circles that are more trustworthy than others, the new dollar is already being talked about, treasury note of some kind. And it will be precious metals backed. You having the precious metals, you just instantly turn that into the actual currency easily. It's the best step towards getting out of the stocks and dollars. Get out of that nastiness. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com, and untrap yourself, unlike our trapped Democrats. We got a lot of them, too. There's some crazy stuff going on right now, and this is hilarious. House Democrats are promising to block Trump's war on D.C. crime. Literally. Jamie Raskin is preparing to introduce a resolution to terminate President Donald Trump's emergency powers over Washington, D.C. They keep swearing that there's no issue with crime in D.C., though we just talked about yesterday's show. You should watch it. It's towards the beginning of the show. Crime in D.C. is the worst city in the world. The world. When you do crime per 100,000 people, per capita, crime per capita, it's the worst. It's horrible. And that needs to stop. People have gotten mugged recently, certainly beat up by children that are running around stealing cars. So it's got to stop. And we've got literally Democrats fighting this. How do you do that? Now, again, I think what's more important. I think if it was any other city other than Washington, D.C., it might be a different story altogether, which other cities are coming. But Washington, D.C. is a unique city. Very unique city. And it's Trump taking over D.C. He planted the flagpoles at the White House. He took over the White House, basically. And now he's taking over D.C. And so this is what the deep state's really fighting. And they're doing it with their primary deep state fighters. So Jamie Raskin is definitely one of them. Hakeem Jeffries, of course, is another. Nancy Pelosi, I've seen stuff come out about. I've seen, I think Nancy Waters, we've actually got at some point. The D.C. councilman. Now, they specifically called out the councilman being the problem. The D.C. council doesn't necessarily have to be there. See, the way that territories, which D.C. is not actually part of our country per se. It's the same thing as Puerto Rico or, Guam, some of the other territories. It's a territory. Territories are supposed to be managed by Congress, period. There's no councils and stuff. I mean, they've probably got some form of structure baked into the country itself, but as far as managing how funds get there and things like that, no, they don't touch it. So D.C. Council is a big part of the problem, and they're going to do everything they can to fight this, obviously, because, again, their power is being reduced / taken away. And should be, for that matter. Can't trust them. So, yeah, of course they're saying piss poor things. I'm not surprised. Whoops. Here is Mayor Bowser calling on Trump, calling his plans crazy and all that stuff. Check it out.
And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past that we're totally surprised. I can say to D.C. residents that we will continue to operate our government in a way that makes you proud.
Do any of you believe that? I don't think she will. She won't be doing anything. She's been doing a failing, miserable job for a long period of time. Why would that suddenly change all of a sudden, right? It's not gonna. Now, again, here's Nancy Wawa talking her crazy talk. And frankly, I think, again, saying rhetoric, that's dangerous.
Mean nothing. Actions mean everything. Watch this. Watch it very closely. Ask a lot of questions. Focus those cameras on everything that's going on, because this president is trying to lead us into what could be called a civil war.
And probably fun to notice in the background. First off, I got a truck backing up in my background, so that's coming through a little from me. But in their background, initially, you might have just heard sirens and stuff. They sounded like fire trucks or ambulance, but whatever. Still, got sirens in the background as emergencies are happening. But she is talking about civil war once again. Yeah, that's obviously not okay. Now, Spencer Allen Brooks put this out. He said the D.C. police union is reacting to Trump's federal takeover. The union says it acknowledges and supports the president's announcement this morning to assume temporary control of the MPD in response to the escalating crime crisis in Washington, D.C. Union Chairman Greg Pemberton, quote, "We stand with the president in recognizing that Washington, D.C. cannot continue on this trajectory. Crime is out of control, and our officers are stretched beyond their limits. The federal intervention is a critical stopgap, but the MPD needs proper staffing and support to thrive. This can only happen by repealing the disastrous policies that have driven out our best officers and hindered recruitment." Now, I believe that is truly the case, but when they say they need more staffing, I don't know. From what we've told, there's 3,500 officers. Now, I'm going to spend a kind of moment here because I just tripped on that, and I'm like, wait, Washington, D.C., how big is that, right? How large an area is that relative to how many cops they have, right? Trump was tripping. I don't know if I played it or not, but he said they had 3,500, and he was just like, 3,500? That's like, wow, that's a lot of troops. That's a lot of officers. Are you kidding me? They can't keep Washington, D.C. safe with 3,500 officers? And so to try to help break that down, because I don't know what that means. Well, some of you might. Right now, I got a list here of the largest states, or largest cities, I'm sorry, in the United States by population. All right? Largest cities by population. We're just doing this because I kind of want to point out, one, nowhere on here will you see Washington, D.C. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philadelphia, San Antonio, San Diego, Dallas, and Jacksonville. These are the top 10, okay, by population. Keep those cities in mind because they're going to pop back up, and there's not a test, but there should be. Nowhere on here are you going to see Washington, D.C. It does not make, I do not believe, I think I went to the bottom. I just want to make sure I'm not totally wrong, right, because that's never fun. Do it often enough, but yeah, so anyway, I still haven't gotten to Washington, D.C., and we're at past 100. Well past. I don't know if it's going to jump out at me. Probably not. I could do the standard Washington. Can I find it? Where are you? 50 states, Washington, D.C. All right. Oh, Washington, D.C. It's 22. Okay, so it's 22. Not bad. So there are a crap ton of people there. I'm glad I actually did the smart thing. Okay, so Washington, D.C. comes in at 22. A lot of cities way above that, right? All right, that's still good. Largest local police departments in the United States. Okay, New York City, it's got the biggest, 33,000 cops. Damn. Chicago, 11,000 cops. Okay, they're number 2. Los Angeles, number 3 at 8,700. Houston, number 4 at 5,100. Philadelphia, 5 at 5,000. Metropolitan Police Department, District of Columbia at 32. It says 32 here, but 35 is what Trump said. It's at number 6. It's number 22nd largest city by population. It's number 6 when it comes to number of cops. That's interesting. When you come by land area, just to throw some more stats at this because I love data, frankly. Phoenix, Arizona is number 1. It's about 516.7 square miles. Big city. Number 2, Houston. It's 599 square miles, right? Oklahoma City's the next at 607 square miles. Butte, Montana, at 716 square miles, right? You get the point. They get big. And then I think number 1, what's the number 1? Sitka, Alaska, and it's got 2,870 square miles. It's just a big-ass city, right? And probably most of it's just trees and shit like that they don't care about. Now, how big is D.C.? 61.4 square miles. It's got 3,500 cops. Hopefully some of those numbers sort of mattered to you, but they did to me. Now, of course, Chicago mayor, he's going to address Trump's National Guard plan. He's got a problem with this, of course, making it safer. And I know he may feel like it's taking away control, but when your control sucks, when your numbers aren't okay, maybe you're failing. I know you got voted in, but you're not doing your job right. You're obviously sucky at certain parts of your job. We're going to help you help yourself. If Eric Adams doesn't make it into November, and there's some crap polls floating around that are saying Mamdani's, way ahead. First off, it's super early, I think. I don't think this election's this year. Maybe it is. Might be. I don't know. I don't actually know when the New York City election is for governor. I don't know if it's easily found. I don't really care that much, but whatever. You guys look it up if it matters. But whatever the case is, Mamdani's supposedly doing well. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he's getting some pretty bad press. But whatever the case is, if Eric Adams doesn't win, I don't think any other candidate's going to do anything to make their subways safer. That much we know. Literally a fun story that came out of Politico. Is anyone in charge of Los Angeles? Many could wonder. Many of Los Angeles leaders have hoped to spend 2025 preparing the city for the next Olympics. We're going to be hosting it. And instead, they found themselves engulfed in a series of unanticipated crises, from devastating wildfires to a destabilizing immigration crackdown. But rather than working together, the city's leading pressure groups are at each other's throats in a spiraling grudge match. After Mayor Karen Bass enacted a new minimum wage law that would guarantee tourism workers get $30 per hour in time for the 2028 games, airline and hotel companies began working to repeal the law via a referendum. A labor union that had lobbied for the wage bill immediately retaliated with 4 ballot initiatives targeting the travel industry, including to require voter approval for new stadiums and meeting centers. Local chambers of commerce heads then countered with an initiative that would slam the gross receipts tax paid by city-based companies. And as they say, none of this is good, is what Rick Cole, former LA deputy mayor, said. None of this is good for the city. The city's literally kind of caving in on itself. They're running out of money. They're bankrupt. They can't acknowledge what the problem actually is because it would admit to their failure and the fact that they're siphoning money into things they shouldn't be. It would essentially show that they're mismanaging the thing that they're pissed about. They're trapped. They're trapped in their own actions. They're trapped in their hatred of Trump. They're trapped. President Trump is calling on Congress to pass legislation banning cashless bail across the country. Hopefully, he can get that to happen. We'll see if they do. That would certainly put a lot of pressure on these sanctuary cities, which he is all about shutting down. And again, a lot of things have to happen before we can then round everybody up. So a lot of things need to happen. We need to get elections under control too. Need to be making noise about that for sure. That's probably one of the most important things we've got going on in the background that needs to get fixed, needs to get through the courts, because whatever we do, they're going to sue us for it. And we need to get it done well before the elections, 90 days before the election for sure, because of printing of ballots especially. And we need to make sure we can print or trust who's printing them. I know we had that certain company in Arizona that printed ballots for multiple states, and we saw so many of those showing up pre-printed with answers already. A lot of strange things happening. Again, not saying that company necessarily was behind it. Just saying that they were pre-printed already. Could have happened in any number of locations. So Trump is urging Congress to help with this problem. Judge orders teen charged in the DOGE staff attacker, Big Balls, when he got attacked, beat up, concussion, broke, I think, anyway, damaged him pretty bad. Dude's hurt and he's happy to be alive, thought he was going to die, and I'm not surprised. He basically, this individual that attacked him, this judge has ordered the teen charged to stay in jail, youth custody, of course, but he's also 15, but he's not getting out on bail, cashless, because you know how that would have played. DC would have been screwed. So somebody made a choice. Don't let that guy out of jail. Otherwise, Trump's going to have a field day. I don't think this hurts Trump at all, but it was certainly done with that effort. So here's an example where they did the right thing. Trump takes the border wall materials that Biden tried to sell, took them back. He's got possession of them. it's his. I don't know if he's actually signing the wall or not. That would be kind of weird, but it wouldn't surprise me that he'd do it. But the way the signature shows, it's obviously overlaid because it goes past, and there's no way you could sign around a corner like that. It'd be impossible, even for Trump. So I think it's bullshit, but it's cool. Cool picture. I didn't make it, just sharing the show, right? U.S. court says Trump's DOGE team can, in fact, access Social Security numbers and other sensitive data. Says very much this labor union that was trying to stop this from happening would very likely lose the case in that he's reasonably sure there's no way they're going to be able to prove that DOGE would somehow do something nefarious with the data. These guys all have clearances. They all have the ability to look at this data. They've done it in other places. So to assume that they're going to do that here, you have no means to prove that. You have nothing to go by. You're going to lose your case. So he stopped it. He rejected the bid of this group of unions to block the Trump administration government downsizing team, known as the Department of Government Efficiency, from accessing sensitive data from, what was this, IRS? Oh, Department of Education. Yeah, Department of Education they were trying to keep secret. Uh-oh. You definitely have home addresses there. They just got a huge treasure trove. This is a giant victory. A giant victory in trying to figure out who they want to get rid of. Weird deal made with Nvidia and AMD. So this chip export deal that Trump just put together, he's like, all right, I'll let you sell these chips to China. And it's a lower model chip, and it's a chip that, well, the interesting part, and they got to give 15% back to the government, our government. Now, why the story's here is because there's people that are questioning whether or not that's legal. I think he could just call it a tariff, frankly. But they're trying to make it sound like the federal government is getting involved with taking money from companies. Now, here's the thing. If you're a company that's a defense company or making something that's used in defense weapons, and you've gotten money from the federal government to create some of these programs, that starts to create a very unique situation. Plus, you've got these private companies that have top secret technology, and giving that to adversaries is also bad. Now, there are times where chips, for example, and not just that great television show, but chips are needed in just about everything. Not just defense, but cars and computers and cell phones and all sorts of stuff. So taking away chips is super gnarly. That's like a huge can't do that, right? Like that'd be China saying you're not getting any more precious metals, right? Or certain the rare metals or whatever, right? A lot of stuff wouldn't be able to make it anymore. So it's an interesting problem that we face. Whatever the case is, they're going to try to take it to court, and it is what it is. I feel like I was saying something at the top. Yeah, there is a story, and I've got it down over here, and China is basically telling all their defense industry people don't use these chips, which I thought was also funny. They're just saying don't use them because there's probably back doors. They're reasonably sure there are. Most likely that's the case. Trump probably knows that. That's why he's like, yeah, you can sell those chips. So now they got chips. We've given them chips. But China's in a place where they're like, but these chips we can't use in our really important stuff. And it's not really our problem, is it? So how does China keep us from getting precious metals that they, or these rare earths? How do they fight back? They can't just stop giving them to us altogether because then we can enhance this trade war. Which, by the way, there's been an extension. Spoiler alert, we'll get there. So, interesting stuff going on. This is just, again, a lot more complex than many of us thought. There's a lot of simplified views of how things are playing out that, well, one had festered from years before, but I think a lot of us are actually obviously seeing the reality of how things are actually playing out versus all the speculation we wanted to think was happening. Bill Clinton is the prime suspect in the Epstein investigation, says Comer. Says, without a doubt, everything that's been said and stated, dude's been there a bunch of times. He knows a lot about what's going on there. So they are working through a legal issue. He says, hopefully we'll win that court battle with the subpoena and see what President Clinton in October. So they're trying to stop that, obviously. They're fighting it in court. Now, again, Trump could easily waive the executive privilege that Clinton might try to take. It's what he It's what Biden did to Trump, so there's no problem doing that. Now, whether he'll do it to Clinton specifically, because he wasn't necessarily one of them, who knows? I don't know. But the dude's been there a bunch of times, so it might be interesting to see how this publicly plays out. And I don't mean speculatively how it might happen in back rooms, but I always wonder what exactly is going to happen in back rooms. All right, so here's the big spiel. FBI Director Kash Patel releases. We found it. We declassified it. Now Congress can see how classified info was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. So this whistleblower has come out and told us a lot of very interesting information. Now, we've got Carolyn Levitt talking about it here. I want to give this first, and then we'll get into the little details of whatever she might not have covered.
Thanks, Caroline. My question involves Russiagate. A whistleblower alleges that then Congressman Adam Schiff approved leaking classified information to smear President Trump's image during the Russiagate scandal. Does the president plan to investigate Adam Schiff, and what would accountability look like if more information confirms this report?
The president has already said he wants to see Adam Schiff held accountable for the countless lies he told the American people in relation to the Russiagate scandal. I brought Tulsi Gabbard out to this podium to talk to you about all of that, and this administration is taking accountability very seriously. As for this new FBI whistleblower report, I understand Kash Patel last night declassified a 302 FBI document showing that a whistleblower who is a Democrat, a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade, repeatedly warned the FBI in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the Russiagate scandal. This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it as such. And I have a quote from the FBI director for all of you. He has said this: "For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. It was all done with one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized and to restore accountability." That's what the administration is focused on, and hopefully we'll see some more media reports on this whistleblower allegation. If this were reversed, if this were allegations against the president or any of these cabinet officials, I'm sure everyone in this room would cover it as such. Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's right about that. Would have already been covered. So some of what we understand, this whistleblower, what he's talking about is there were these meetings, right? And in this meeting, this one in particular, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump, the FBI memo said. Redacted stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured Redacted that they would not be caught leaking classified information. The whistleblower believed that this leaking would be unethical, illegal, and treasonous. The whistleblower was later approached about leaking classified information in a separate meeting by unnamed individuals. The interview documents were classified by FBI Director Kash Patel. Quote, "We found it, we declassified it," as it was said earlier. Schiff believes Russia hijacked the election and the United States was in the middle of the constitutional crisis. Classified information began leaking to the media. The Democrat minority leadership of HPSCI was aware of the leaks, but was under the impression that leaking the information was one way to topple the administration and fix the constitutional crisis, is also what the whistleblower stated. So this is a very big deal going on, unquestionably. Now, we also have this that was dug up. Apparently, Adam Schiff believed he would have been the director of the CIA had Clinton won in 2016. That is pretty shocking. Schiff was particularly upset as he believed he would have been appointed as the director of CIA had candidate Hillary Clinton won the election. You know, the one that nobody believed she would lose. Yet, still did. Isn't that interesting? Massachusetts teachers demand a new wealth tax. Progressive Dem places are going to have a very hard time. And for people that live in these places, I feel for you. This is going to be very interesting. But They want to do an upper income wealth tax, the richest 1%, to pay free public college. Now, what does that mean, first off? Does that 1%, so say, for example, say you got 100 people, just to make it easy, right? And the top 1% is one guy. And say that one guy makes, I don't know, $20 billion a year. I don't know, stupid number. It's worth $20 billion or whatever, okay? And you're like, dude, I'm going to tax the hell out of you starting next year. And $20 billion guy goes, all right, I'm moving immediately. Later. So now there's 99 people. Do they still go after the new top 1%? So is that the guy that makes, I don't know, 10 billion a year? Way less than 20 billion guy. But they hit up 10 billion guy and they're like, look, you're now the 1% guy. We're going to go after you. He's like, that sucks. When? Next year? I'm out of here before then. Peace. All right. So now, what do we go to the next guy? Number 98, who only made 1 billion last year. But you're getting my point, I hope. How does that work? And it's a horrible idea, by the way, because once they break that constitution, that rule, if you will, taxing people in weird ways, frankly, tax isn't legal anyway. We've got budgets that are out of control, budgets that are being wasted and squandered, and yet they want more money. And they're not going to stop at the 1%. They never do. They never have. Every single tax ever started as something small and became much larger. It's never gotten smaller. It's rare. Well, occasionally, like Trump has tried to lower taxes, but as a general rule, taxes don't go down. They only go up. Donald Trump truthed out a couple interesting things about the Fed. Jerome, too late. Powell must now lower the rate. Steve Mnuchin, I don't know how you're supposed to say that. Mnuchin, I don't know. He really gave me a beauty when he pushed this loser. The damage has been done by always being too late is incalculable. Fortunately, the economy is so good that we've blown through Powell and the complacent board. I am considering allowing a major lawsuit against Powell to proceed because of the horrible and grossly incompetent job he has done in managing the construction of the federal building. $3 billion for a job that should have been $50 million fix-up? Not good. So this is not good for Powell. And again, he's likely not going to raise or lower rates. I think he's going, I think this is supposed to bring down the Fed. Donald Trump truthed out also, trillions of dollars are being taken in on tariffs, which has been incredible for our country, its stock market, its general wealth, and just about everything else. It has been proven that even at this late stage, tariffs have not caused inflation or any other problems for America, other than massive amounts of cash pouring into our treasury coffers. Also, it has been shown that, for the most part, consumers aren't even paying these tariffs. It's mostly the companies and governments, many of them foreign, picking up the tabs. But David Solomon and Goldman Sachs refused to give credit where credit is due. They made a bad prediction a long time ago on both the market repercussions and the tariffs themselves, and they were wrong, just like they are wrong about so much else. I think that David should go out and get himself a new economist, or maybe he ought to just focus on being a DJ and not bother running for a major financial institution. I'm not sure what the point of the DJ thing is. There's actually a picture of him DJing it up, or if it's just Trump, because he likes music. Hard to say. Heal thy home. I tell you what, it's a good idea. I think manifesting health in our lives is all about thinking about things that are healthy. Think about things that bring health to us. Think about things what do healthy people do? And when you live as a healthy person, even when you're maybe not healthy, when you think as one, when you do as one, when you be as one, you're going to find that you're going to be healthy. It's just the way things work. When you focus on illness, even if you're trying to heal your illness, you're still focused on the illness itself. Focus on health. And Healthy Home does that. Their products do that. And then on top of that, they actually do amazing things with the body. Stem cells, for example. A lot of people get stem cells from aborted fetuses. This doesn't put any stem cells inside of you. It's not inserting stem cells to you at all. What this does is it uses natural ingredients that are amazing, that help your body stimulate its stem cell production. Your production goes up 25 to 40% almost immediately. Almost immediately, within minutes of taking the medicine or drinking it, or it's not really medicine, but the help, if you will, all right, the supplement. It gets your stem cells kicking up. Your stem cells are just androgynous cells that can become anything. Anytime anything in the body gets injured, it needs replacement cells. So you injure muscle, you need new muscle cells. You injure skin, you need new skin cells. You injure your lungs, you need new lung cells. You stop smoking, for example, you need new lung cells. Stem cells are cells that can become a lung cell. They can become a liver cell. They can become a heart cell. They can become other cells. When you've got more of them, your healing ability is enhanced. And it's one of the things that degrades as we age. You know, they always talk about antioxidants, trying to get the oxidants out of there, if you will. Oxidation is aging of the cells. These cells need to be replaced. If you don't have enough stem cells to replace them, your degradation begins. Stem cells help keep that from happening. Helps keep your numbers up. So you've got enough replacement cells to take care of business. Make sure you're doing that. This is one of those things where you don't really want to stop taking it. You want to continue to create replacement cells at a higher rate. If you don't need them, great. But you certainly don't want to, you don't want to be in a position where you actually need them and don't have them. You want to be in the position where you have them and you don't need them all. Stem cells are a big one. So go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. These products are incredible. Balanced, ladies, you're the ones going through that change. Your emotions are out of control. You're not sleeping well. You're getting hot and cold, everything. You're barking at people you didn't mean to bark at. Balance is causing a lot of women to feel confidence, feel comfort, feel normalcy again. Again, plant-based, no synthetic hormones, not messing with you further. You've got enough going on in that case, right? You don't want to start playing with those in that way. Hormone therapy is dangerous to a large extent. You can do research on it. I don't want to get into it. Balance is a transdermal lotion. You rub it on your wrists. Boom, it's in. It's 14 plant-based ingredients that help your body deal with what you're going through. I'm hearing raving reviews from it. People just feeling better across the picture. Certainly helping relationships, sleeping better, feeling better, more engaged with others around them. A balanced act. It's beautiful. So check that one out for sure. Amaze is collagen peptide. Girlfriend just walked out with some yesterday. She's twitching a little bit too. She's stoked that she got her couple boxes. And then she took one to work today. She shoved it in her purse, and I was laughing. So anyway, that's how she is. She'll take one at home and takes one at work. But this is amazing. Her skin looks amazing. She was gone for a month, and I swear to God, she looks 5 years younger, and that's when she started doubling up, really. The thing on her eye totally went away. Hair's been cool, even though she found a hair on the counter. She's been back 3 weeks, I think. This is the first time, I think, that we've noticed she found a hair anywhere, in my house anyway, or my car. So that seems to be better, even though she's, who knows? Not my problem, not my fight, not my war. This is helping. Collagen peptides, the best. It helps with sagging skin, sore muscles, joint discomfort. If you've lost some weight and you've been overweight, your skin's going to be a little saggy, and this will help your body deal with that. It takes time, by the way. It's not something that happens quickly, but it will help get your skin back into a little more of a fashionable sense, let's call. So Amaze will amaze you for sure. Prime, lots of energy. It's incredible. Expands your blood vessels. And we've got Stem Active for pets. Remember, healing. Remember, replacement cells. Your pets need it too. It's about half the price of what humans pay, by the way. And it's chewables. Good way to go and help your little ones live longer as well. And be able to help heal them when they're going through troubled times. danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Make that healthy choice. Live the healthier living style, right? Think healthy thoughts, and health will be your gift. It's how it works. It's a great way to do it. danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Oops. All right, Trump again. He is pleased to announce that he is nominating highly respected economist Dr. E.J. Antoni as the next commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Our economy is booming, and E.J. will ensure that the numbers released are honest and accurate. I know E.J. Antoni will do an incredible job in his new role. Congratulations, E.J. So very good. Also, Trump says, I have just signed an executive order that will extend the tariff suspension on China for another 90 days. This is interesting. So they're still negotiating. So extending it another 90 days. All other elements of the agreement will remain the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald Trump, President of the United States. All capital letters on this one. You guys remember how I brought up the camel case letters the other day? When he was meeting with Russia in Alaska? Oddly. This is capital letters. There's a difference. Donald J. Trump of the United States is the capital letter version, is the corporate version. Donald Camel Case Trump is the individual. And the United States of America Camel Case is the actual country, not the corporation that has been owned for a long time. We'll get there. All this is going to come out through time. China's urging its tech giants to avoid Nvidia chips. I explained this earlier, but they are. It's happening. This is real. Stock market's not anywhere weird today. I mean, it's up a bit. I don't know what they're claiming is the good news. Inflation data was teeny bit up, but it was very flat. I think it was up 0.1 or something like that. Our inflation is like 2.7% right now. Gold's down a little bit, 33.99. So it's hovering at the 34 mark. It went down hard at one point when I was looking at it. Yeah, it dropped a lot. And then again, I always wonder if people are just buying a bunch of it. They figured out a way to do a bunch of contracts because then it spikes way the hell up. Like, how does that happen? What is that? That's a weird glitch. Something strange. And I'm sure silver, I wonder if silver did something similar. Let's look at silver just because I'm curious. It had an upward spike, so something happened. I don't know why they tried to jam down gold. My guess is to get the price down so they could buy more of it. It seems like it happened about the same time. Yeah, right around 12 p.m. Isn't that interesting? Again, we're the last ones to ever find out, but a big old jump in the price of things just happened. Yeah, gold, silver and gold are... We'll see. Gold's moving all over the place today, so we'll see where it actually ends up later on down the road. Kennedy's MAHA strategy is going to be released to the public a little later than initially expected. And the reasoning is, for a lot of the people that are like, oh, that's horrible. I mean, it is, sort of, sure. It's not horrible, but it sucks. Yeah. The problem is the stuff that he's talking about, food dyes and some of the different ingredients and some of the medicines and just the vaccine schedules for schools. There's a lot of information that is going to hugely affect the big macro version of the politics, right? The macro economy, the macro world. And there's a lot of different organizations, schools, and everything else that need to be aware of what's coming before it's necessarily public. Now, it'll get leaked, probably, bit by bit. But they need to be able to do that. They need to let companies know, hey, look, this stuff's going to be illegal. I don't care if you put it in your food now or not. It needs to come out, and here's the deadline. I understand you got to do things different, find a replacement for that. Cool. If not, stop making that product or whatever, if that's a mandatory ingredient. So bigger deal than some of the changes that are happening. All said, meh. I put this as fragile. There's two things, I think, two different stories. Yeah, a couple relationships that seem like they're very, very tense and very easy to sparkle, if you will. And sparklings can become dangerous. So again, this whole we'll take down half the world with us. India's outraged that the Pakistani army chief's nuke threats happened from U.S. soil, which is kind of funny. I didn't realize that the first time I had read this. This dude was hanging out in Tampa, I guess, where CENTCOM's HQ base is located. General Munir also spoke at a private event for the Pakistani diaspora in America. I've been having a hard time reading today. His words there have set off outrage and condemnation from India on Monday, including fresh nuclear saber rattling. They just want to fight, right? The deep state's so trying to trigger people. It's one of those things where, like, if you want to definitely go to blows with a dude, sometimes all you got to do is just like say something horrible about their mother, and they almost feel like they have to go to blows, right? For some stupid reason, right? It's what they do, right? It's one of those things where India and Pakistani just like friggin' hate each other. And anything you can say, be like, he said his mom said your mom's fat. You know that? Like, it doesn't even have to be true. It could be obviously probably not true. He's like, he's not even alive. How could he have said that? Nah, he said it from heaven. He said it through the multi-armed chick. She came down and she said, I'm Destroyer, Sheba, or whatever her name is. I'll never forget, one time I was helping a dude with IT. We were testing something, and he had me sit down at his station because that's where he had the test system set up, and he wanted me to run through a couple different things. And I sat down, and when I went to use the keyboard, it kind of moved, and he had all the gods like behind the keyboard, like, and so some of you Christians out there, but it was accidental, subconscious. But I accidentally moved the keyboard just a little bit, and I like bowling, man. I knocked over all of his gods, and I literally said it, and I didn't mean it in a bad way. I meant it with love in my heart. And I looked at him and I said, "I'm sorry, I knocked over all your gods." And he's like, "It's okay." Anyway, the test went well, but one of the weirdest moments where I was just like, I don't know if there's a, and I wouldn't say a fatwa because they don't believe in that, but I don't know if I got Indian gods pissed at me. Let's just put it that way. I didn't mean to. It was not meant to be disrespectful. I just took them all out, though. Just one fell swoop. Just knocked out in their entire religion. They didn't seem too strong to me. It was kind of weird, but anyway, no disrespect to my Indian friends out there. Shots fired after Japanese destroyer breached Chinese waters. What this was and why I think this is significant, it was a year ago, so let's not get too worried. But Japan was sailing, and they had their navigation all set up, and their GPS and stuff. And they're like, nah, everything's cool. We're not in Chinese waters. We're going to go right up to the edge, though, because there was a test that China was doing, and Japan wanted to watch it, like any normal Navy would. Problem is their navigation system was flawed in some way, shape, or form. Maybe the software was taken over, hacked, hijacked, whatever. And they were going in further and actually went into Chinese territorial waters. China fired a couple warning shots over the bow, if you will, told them to get the F out of Dodge. And they eventually realized, oops, that almost started a war. And China and Japan have a history. There's some brutal history between these two countries. Japan did some horrific stuff to China way back in the day. No offense to Japan, but wonderful people. I like Japanese people a lot. I also prefer their language. It's much easier to speak than Chinese. Chinese is just, it's like noises I'm not used to making. And then, it's like, make this weird noise. And you try to make the noise, and they're like, you didn't make the noise right. And it's just like, I'm trying. It's like, yeah, so here's how you do it. Wah. And then you're like, wah. And they're like, that's not the same noise. And you're like, that's exactly what you just did. They're like, no, wah. And you're like, wah. No, different. Wah. Wah. Chinese tough language. All said. It is what it is. Cracks appear in NATO unity ahead of the Alaska summit on Ukraine territorial concessions. Everybody's like, there's no giving up territory. There's no giving up. So Europe is talking a lot of tough talk right now about how any territory given up by Ukraine's unacceptable. That Russia is not going to be rewarded for their aggression. But here's the thing. This should never have happened. We pushed them into this. We overthrew their government. CIA's got all sorts of docs about it. We then put in this puppet guy. We then keep pushing NATO closer and closer to Russia when we signed a treaty with them eons ago that we literally broke multiple times. So for all these people to say Russia has no right, and again, I'm not anti-Ukraine and I'm not anti-Russia. I am like Trump in that I think it's sad that so many people have died. For what? For what? What was the point of this? And I think always along the deep state was hoping they could destroy Russia. That was the plan. Break Russia up into pieces. It's a giant landmass. It's got so many resources, and they friggin' hate Russia. Deep state hates Russia. And Russia knows it, and they hate the deep state. Russia's been at war, I don't know, almost always in its history. They are a warring nation. Generally nice people. You don't want to piss them off, though. No, definitely. You'll know they're mad, unlike the English. You just don't know. You don't know until too late, until someone just hits you with a beer bottle or a pint or whatever they do, pint glass. I don't know. Things that have handles on them. I mean, it's got to be brutal. Brutal. They're thick. All said, Europe doesn't want to let this go. Deep state, I should say, doesn't want to let this go. Deep state's not in charge of the United States anymore, and they're certainly not in charge of Russia. That's why Camel Case Trump is having a meeting with Camel Case Putin, and Russia was camel cased as well. And for those who don't know what camel case is, up-down case. I don't know. That's what they call it in coding. You know, camels have the humps, right? So they've got capital letter and then everything else lowercase. It's camel case. It's strange that they're doing what they're doing. They're having their own conversation, just the two of them. And if there was ability to be able to trust each other to have a conversation securely, they could probably easily do that umbrella over the top, take a little walk, and have a talk. Putin speaks English. They don't need a translator. I mean, obviously, you know, Trump's not going to kill them if they went office too, but these types of things happen. Them being able to have an actual correspondence and a plan is vital. And the rest of the world's likely going to fight this. And if the rest of the world wants to continue this fight, so be it. Putin is preparing new offensive after Trump meeting because he knows what Europe's going to do. Putin knows that Europe's going to fight this. Trump does too. I think they're going to make some sort of deal between them. And the United States is going to step out. We've already said we're not going to keep financing this war. This shouldn't be happening. We completely disagree with it. We don't want to see any more people die of any kind. And we think, honestly, this should never have happened. So the fact that lines have changed on the map, this should never have happened. So that's the result of that. Whoops. One could say you effed up. So Putin not only is preparing, but has managed a big breakthrough. They moved something like 6 to 8 miles in one day as far as moving the front forward. That's huge. That's a giant move forward. Yeah, 8 miles. Russian troops are believed to have advanced as far. And they're in one of the places that they want to have control over that would allow or require concessions from Ukraine. So what I think Russia's desperately trying to do right now is to, you know what, just take those two areas that they essentially want and demand, and then be willing to give up the other areas. And then now it's almost like a hostage negotiation. Now you've got something to deal with. Now you've got something to tell Europe, look, here's the thing. Right now we have this land. We're willing to give some of it back. Not all of it. And if you don't like the deal, fuck you. We'll keep it all. And we'll just keep hammering in, and eventually we will literally take over this whole freaking country. Or, because that's the thing, Europe, without the United States' help, cannot fight this war. They don't have the munitions. They don't have good munitions. They don't have the ability. Even if they started ramping stuff up, Ukraine would get annihilated before they could do anything about it. Ukrainian population support for the war effort is just collapsing. It's getting worse and worse by the day. The people in Ukraine do not want to fight anymore. And I bet you if you asked most of them, is it going to piss you off if you lose a little bit of land? Nope. I just want to see the fighting stop. I want my son to be alive. I want my daughter to be alive. I want my husband to be alive. They don't have the support. They don't control the narrative. There aren't a bunch of stupid people running around putting Ukrainian flags on their Meta dashboard or whatever the hell the thing is when you do that. The stupidness. The background picture is what I call it. I think it's a fancier name probably. So Zelensky's inner circle, apparently we're finding out, and Turkey is behind this release of information. Turkey's been doing a little investigation. And apparently there's this group, the CFM Investment Group, and the Gemirin Family Holdings. These are two Ukrainian companies. This is where $50 million a month is being transferred to this UAE companies. That's where these companies are based. These are Ukrainian-owned companies of these old families. And they've been funneling $50 million every single month to these families. Graft has remained one of the most pressing challenges facing Ukraine. Brussels has repeatedly suggested adopting stronger anti-corruption measures as a precondition for EU membership. Remember how Zelensky was trying to shut down those two organizations within his country that was looking specifically at corruption? And he tried to take control of those and shut them down. Deep State wanted him to. But then Europe somehow said, look, we're going to hold back money. So somehow there's a good influence over there that's able to anti-deep state. So a lot of things are happening. Ukraine is one of the key places. Save Israel for last. We see how that's playing right now. Taiwan, we still have no idea, but I don't think there's going to be a war. I don't think China's in a position where they could even come close to winning a war. They could nuke other countries and successfully cause significant damage to the entire population of the planet, but they couldn't necessarily win a war. They don't have enough stuff. They don't have enough troops. They don't have enough ability to get boats across the countries, planes, to fly troops across to be able to actually invade our shores. They just don't have the numbers. But they could nuke us, sure. And that's so, again, that's not going to happen. Nor is, I don't know what's going to happen with Taiwan, but that's probably going to get negotiated. Trump will get involved or something. They'll make some sort of deal, and that'll be handled that way. So I don't think there's going to be a war around Taiwan and China at this point. That's where I'm leaning. We'll see. Again, deep state's got abilities to piss people off pretty easily. But we know for sure Ukraine is quickly faltering and will be over soon. And the only other place that's left, really, is Israel. So this is we're heading into that final stretch. No question. We've all been prepared for this. We've been talking about this for eons. Western Europe, they want the war in Ukraine to continue. Of course they do. That's essentially the same thing as saying the deep state needs the war in Ukraine to continue. Needs. First off, the money flowing to the UAE, $50 million. That's a big part of the money that's being given to them right now. We need this amount of money to keep our government going. Yeah, well, they're funneling $50 million of that funds off. And I think they said the number was like $2 billion or something a month or some, I don't know, maybe a year. It's a lot of money. It was a pretty large amount of money for a smaller country. Yeah, so big time. We'll see. Again, next meeting with Zelensky and Putin. Trump is saying, like, look, they're probably going to meet. Trump and Putin are going to meet. They're going to have their own thing. Trump's probably going to suggest, hey, I think you should get together with Zelensky and see if you can hammer out this deal. It's not Trump's deal when it comes to Zelensky. But this is where Zelensky wants to be a part of this meeting with Putin. And it's like, no, he's not invited. This doesn't have anything to do with you. It does, but it doesn't. It has to do with me and Putin and us making agreements. And you are definitely not a part of that, Zelensky. You don't matter at all with what we're going to talk about. And we don't want you to know what we talk about because you leak everything. We have zero faith that we could have a conversation that could stay secret. So Zelensky will not be at the Friday meeting. I keep wondering if they're going to have some sort of like black swan or some sort of false flag prior to Friday, because they kind of can't have this happen. It's not going to look good for them, right? Not at all. Trump pledges renovations to bring the Kennedy Center back to absolute top level. I believe in his truth. He called it the Trump Kennedy Center, and he's like, oops. So whatever. I think there was someone in Congress that was trying to bring up legislation to change the name of it to the Melania Trump Center. Again, the Kennedys have a beautiful name, and considering what we're doing and who's in office and the fact that John F. Kennedy probably likely started this war that we're finishing, I like the idea of keeping it as the Kennedy Center, and I like the idea that they cleaned it up. Trump can put his name all over enough other stuff. I don't think they need to take the Kennedy Center. My personal take, I like Trump. I like him a lot. And I love his wife. His wife is just beautiful. She's just a gorgeous, lovely woman. She's so sweet, too. Just whenever you see her talk, like, she seems like an angel. She doesn't seem like she's from this planet, frankly. She's way too cool. She's just so much love, so much sweetness. Like to me, in all honesty, I'll say it. It's not for every, no. It's good. Damn it. Good analogy, but wouldn't have shared well with all groups, I guess. I'll say it happens. Sometimes my filter works for good reasons. Sometimes save my ass. All said, folks. We've got so much going on. Lots happening. This week's going to be exciting. Again, what are we expecting to happen? I mean, this Friday thing's going to be huge, and leading up to that, very, very curious. And to see things kind of play out further with Texas, though the Supreme Court in Texas seems to really be slowing things down. That's to the end of the month. Dude, that's a lot of time. What is it, today the 12th? That's a lot of time to get all the way to the end of the month and get into September before it's over. September 4th, I believe, which is almost a whole month. So, I don't know, craziness going on there. A lot is continuing to happen, and we're on the right track. We get what's going on. We see the bigger picture. We're not falling for the same shenanigans as everyone else, and we're making the ripples that count. That's what matters. Where we go one, we go all. Ripple, 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 ripple. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.